Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hey Federico, yes, I can hear you.
Good. Well, hello, guys. Hello, and welcome to our community call. This is the last community call of this year because, well, I mean, next Wednesday is Christmas, and I mean, I don't want people to say, "Oh, Federico is making us work on Christmas Day," like the Scrooge, character of the Dickens, So no, this is going to be the last call of the year. So I mean, we were going to do like maybe short overview of a bunch of things that happened in 2024, which I think was an excellent year for Kleros, because of a number of things that are starting to become aligned for us to become like a very important actor, not only in the Web3 industry, but also beyond. Especially, I think 2024 was the year when we finally got to make a breakthrough into what we could call, the mainstream economy. Uh, and January 2024, we had an extremely important event that happened. That was that Mexico published in their official journal, I mean, they passed a law that recognizes decentralized justice as a legally valid dispute solution method in Mexico. I mean, which is a extremely important fit for well, not for any project, blockchain or not blockchain. I mean, we invented something a few years ago that is technology for resolving disputes, and now since January 2024, this is legally valid in Mexico, passed by the Congress. So you can check this. I'm not making this up. I mean, you can check the link of where this is published. This opens lots of opportunities for using Kleros in the context of like a real life disputes in a number of use cases, which cover like fintech, for example, that the work we are doing with Lemon to resolve disputes between the company and customers, and insurance. Think about disputes between the insurance company and policyholders over lots of different, claims, and what is the right amount of compensation. Um, and also lots of government disputes. We are. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, let me continue a bit more. So, January 2024, we start with this extremely good piece of news that is the Congress of Mexico passing this law. And honestly, people were asking me, "Oh, Federico, is you made this happen?" I had no idea that this was going to happen. A number of community members and lawyers following Kleros for a long time and from Mexico, because they are experts in dispute resolution, online ODR, and all that. And then they were put in charge of drafting this piece of legislation in Mexico, and they pushed for this for the Mexican Congress to pass this law. This is not a law only about Kleros; it's a law about new dispute resolution methodologies, and this includes AI, other platforms, and one of the technologies that they accept is decentralized justice. So I don't think this was made for Kleros only, of course not. But at some point in January, I have this, this lawyer called Joel Gomez, who is one of the most important people in Mexico about working on online innovation in justice. And this is public. He told me on Twitter, "Look, Federico, I think you should look at this." And he sent me this link, and Mexico passed a piece of legislation accepting Kleros. So lots of opportunities coming from there. And I have been, of course, this year in Mexico exploring a bit about the local ecosystem, making some presentations, and talking to some companies. We have already a pilot ongoing with a very important company in Mexico in the industry of insurance. Uh, I don't want to mention the name, but it was already mentioned by other people, but I'm not going to say the name. So you have to do your own research. So that was a very important um, piece of news. And the second very important piece of news coming from those months was in February 2024, I was invited to participate in the World Government Summit It's an invite-only event organized by the Prime Minister's Office of Dubai, where we had the opportunity of presenting Kleros in front of an audience of, heads of state, high-level government officials, I mean, ministers of justice, and others. I mean, for example, I was presenting Kleros. I was doing it was like I was given like a stand, and they brought me people all the time to listen to the pitch of Kleros. I had 30 seconds to pitch Kleros. Um, and well, I mean, to very, very high level people. One of the guys who went there, I mean, was Tony Blair, for example. Tony Blair. There was Tucker Carlson, and other people who were not in my room, but I met there were like the Prime Minister of India, Modi, and then Erdogan. So that was the level of the conference. I actually got to meet them in person. So quite cool experience, and I'm sure some maybe innovative stuff are going to come from that in the context of the enterprise use cases. So that was really important thing happening in February. March, one thing that went a bit unnoticed was the release of a bot called Harmony, that is a mediation bot that can be used to onboard the cases into Kleros. And this was done by Rob Dean, who is a dispute resolution specialist from the Middle East. He's in Abu Dhabi, and he's also an expert in AI, not an expert. He's a tinkerer, I would say. And he developed this bot that can be used to onboard cases into Kleros coming from the IP claims. So that was a really, really interesting thing happening in March. April, we organized a conference. We co-hosted a conference on blockchain governance at Stanford in collaboration with the Stanford Blockchain Club. That was a really cool conference. I went there. We had lots of very cool speakers, like Glenn Weil. We had professor from Stanford, Jeff Strand. We had the guy from Protocol Labs, Juan Bene, well, and other very, very cool people working on the blockchain industry and governance in particular. Then in May, I did my little, cheat sheet, because there are so many things going on, and at the same time that it's sometimes hard to remember. But in May, we had some very cool conference that we organized at Switzerland with the Neuchâtel University and the WIPO of World Property Organization, Intellectual Property Organization. The first ever conference in dispute resolution on esports. As you know, Kleros is very flexible, it can resolve lots of different types of disputes. One of them, which we have been following for a long, long time now, is esports. As you know, there are like tournaments happening in the gaming esports, and there's disputes between players. Sometimes a team accuses the other of cheating. It's really hard to resolve cases like that, because you have people from different countries, maybe 20 players from 15 different countries. I mean, arbitration is not very good for that. So you need some native methodology from the online world, like such as Kleros. So this is something I have been exploring for a long time, and I was super happy to get to do this conference, especially the fact that we did it with Neuchâtel University and WIPO, because of all the connections they have. And the fact that it was in Switzerland was also very important, because Switzerland is the country where all of the sports organizations are. We had in the conference people from FIFA, for example. There is this tribunal called the TAS, Tribunal for Sport Arbitration. We had people from that tribunal, people from the Olympics Committee that is in Lausanne. So that was an extremely good opportunity for engaging with these like legacy sports organizations. By the way, today is 2 years since Argentina won the World Cup. Speaking of, legacy sports, and Sorry, I'm Argentinian, so I'm biased towards that. No, very good conference, and it was a really cool way to start to put this type of topics into the agenda. I mean, nobody was speaking about distributed solution in esports a few years ago. We did put that into our white paper, by the way, but it was like very futuristic. Now it's not that futuristic. The day after um, the conference of esports, there was another conference where I participated as a speaker. It was about distributed solution in social media. Tons of disputes, as you can imagine, are happening in social media, content moderation disputes. Um, as because of that, there are like lots of conflicts about, you get banned from Twitter, and then this affects your rights because maybe you are an influencer and then you make your living out of being in the platform, and then now some moderator decides that you broke the rules and you are out, and then this really affects your life. So there is all of this trend to try to um, put these decisions not in the hands of like some employee of the company, some moderator, but put it in the hands of like some more neutral panel of people who can make these decisions. This has also implications for free speech, as you might remember in January 6th, in the US, and then Trump and the tweets and being deplatformed, and this was a big scandal. So it's cool to have to start seeing content moderation decisions as some kind of trial, if you want. I mean, a dispute resolution procedure between parties that needs to comply with a number of due process considerations that traditional content moderation does not comply with. And it's interesting that Facebook has been, or Meta has been, moving in that direction with the creation of the Meta Overview Board, where people can appeal decisions, content moderation decisions that they think are unfair. And in that conference, there was one of the speakers was some person that works at the Meta Overview Board, and she explained how it works, what type of cases they try to solve, which they don't, um, and how they respond to questions about this looks like impartial and neutral, but in the end, you are just an arm of Meta, so you're not really. So, that is why we need probably, this content moderation methodologies that are credibly neutral, and Kleros can be uh, one of these alternatives. So, if you are into these topics, do watch there. All of the talks I'm mentioning are online, so you can check them. Then we had in June, we started a very, very important pilot that was an agreement we did with the province of Mendoza in Argentina to start having Kleros resolve or help resolve consumer and neighborhood disputes in a particular uh, um, courthouse in Lavalle, which is a municipality in Mendoza. And then we already conducted a number of tests. Um, and so this is now going to become part of the judiciary process of Mendoza. So Kleros is actually going to be as a consultative way, helping Mendoza resolve cases. I will let maybe Marcos, if you want to comment on this, so I don't monopolize, all of the speaking. Um, do you
Hey,
want to
hey, good
comment?
afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, about Mendoza, that is what you were just mentioning. Um, yeah. Yeah, it's something that we started in the first half of the year. But first, I would mention what it was the official integration with Lemon. After this integration was completed, we announced it in different part of well, in my case of Argentina. I think Federico, you were talking about this in other parts of the world, but in my case it was Argentina. And one of the places we went, it was Mendoza, where we went to the Justice Palace of Mendoza, and we were talking about the integration with Lemon. People there was very interested in what we were doing. And thanks to that presentation, we met the people from the court of Lavalle. That Lavalle is like a small town in Mendoza, and they were interested in trying Kleros. And well, because of that presentation that we did at the beginning of the year with Lemon, we started working with this pilot case in Mendoza, where the idea is to solve neighbor and consumer conflicts in this specific town. So yeah, that's a bit like the story of how we started working with Mendoza, and now thanks to Mendoza, we are starting to evaluate the possibility of Kleros resolving disputes in another, in other parts of Argentina and in other parts of the world too. Federico still doesn't let us mention which countries, but we are resolving some pilot cases in our court B1 and now in our court B2 about again Kleros for government entities.
Yeah, so I mean, now that you mentioned the two, so also this was an important part of the year. I mean, one of the big milestones, not of this year only, but I mean, of the history of Kleros, um, is of course the launch of Kleros 2.0, which has been in the works for a long time because it's very sophisticated, and this will enable lots more of use cases because it's um, cheaper. It's well, the design is more user friendly. The logic for making decisions is better. We can have one person, one vote course. We can have like soulbound tokens used to select jurors by their skills, by their belonging to a community. Let's say that XYZ country wants to use Kleros to resolve disputes, but they only want to draw people as jurors coming from their country and not just anyone from the internet who has the token. So that was not possible before in the V1 because there was no system for identity. You didn't know who was behind the address. But this now can be done by combining a number of improvements like proof of humanity for verification of identity and also soulbound tokens to make sure that the person complies with a number of um, features like belonging to a community or having some skills about some specific topic. But I mean, I don't know why I'm telling you this. If we have William here who can explain a bit more about all of the research that went into developing the Kurt V2, why it's important, what it brings as better, improvements over V1. Yeah, you can explain this better than me, William. You go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you already hit on some of the important points. We've been years of research that has gone into developing, V2, based around the idea that, different voting systems are useful in different situations, different incentive systems. Some courts voting systems, will be more appropriate than others, and the sort of like voting and incentive systems we've considered in the yellow paper, will now be able to be launched in some courts in V2, and will be able, because of this modular framework, where you can deploy new sort of dispute kits with new logic later, be able to continue with future research to develop other sort of things that will be maybe based on future research that will for later kinds of categories of disputes. But that's not all. We've thought a lot about how to give Kleros a more Web 2 kind of experience. So a lot of the things that people find weird about Kleros and V1 have come from the fact that you have limited blockchain identity tools. You're really limited to very sort of economic financial logic around penalizing people and sort of slashing conditions. It's hard to tell, like on the blockchain, whether someone has provided good evidence, if they're a juror providing evidence. It's hard to see if someone is like a party to the case and exclude them from selection. As Federico said, it's hard to like sort of screen people based on their background and their qualifications. So like all of our solutions in V1 to those problems were very kind of incentive-y. People will have more of an incentive to stake in courts where they have expertise. People will have sort of an incentive to provide good evidence when they provide vote as a juror, because that evidence will be viewed upon appeal, and they want to be coherent with appeals. But in V2, we'll be able to have mechanisms that we've been thinking about that do these things perhaps in ways that are more familiar to people from Web 2 worlds. If you don't provide evidence in a court that requires if you don't provide a justification as a juror in a court that requires that, that will be able to create a secondary Kleros case where you're judged whether your evidence was good enough or your justification was good enough. If you don't have an SPT with a attesting to your background, that your qualification to handle a certain kind of disputes, you just can't be drawn in courts that handle those disputes. So years of research that have gone into, what kinds of Web 2-like experiences are compatible with the Web 3 tools that we've had and that we've been able to develop. And I'm excited about V2 being able to integrate those things. This year we've been continuing on so a lot of the things we've done from years past are, like ready to go relatively soon as the developers can encode them into dispute kits. Continuing new research that will inform future courts, future dispute kits. Stuff about the SPTs is continuing. How best to sort of handle not only if you have like juror pools where you have one SPT, but if you have like diverse panels of people that have lots of different experiences, how do you best weight those together? Stuff about peer prediction, stuff about handling numerical choices. So I'm excited to see all of that take shape in the court.
Cool. So it's also worth mentioning from the point of view of research, an agreement we made with Oxford. So we opened together a position for a PhD researcher at Oxford Computer Science Department to do research on mechanism design for decentralized justice. So this is a fully funded PhD position. Half the money comes from Kleros, half the money comes from Oxford. And if you want to apply, this is open now. I mean, we are recruiting the candidate. I mean, of course, this is a super competitive position because who wouldn't want to do a doctorate in Oxford, right? And according to ChatGPT, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying what ChatGPT said. If you get to do this PhD and then Kleros, things go as we hopefully will go, I mean, you can be on your track to Nobel Prize in economics, because we are, doing innovative research on incentives, game theory. Many Nobel Prize winners come from, game theory. So, I mean, I'm just saying what ChatGPT told me. I'm not endorsing or whatever. Just, you feel free to ask. So, Jean can share the link with you so you can apply now. You will, if you get this, you will be lucky enough to do a doctorate at Oxford, computer science, for 3 years under the supervision of Paul Goldberg, who is one of the luminaries of the world in decentralized, game theory, machine learning. So this is, I mean, if I was looking for a PhD, I would definitely apply to this one. I don't think I am smart enough to get it, but I mean, I will at least try, because you never know. So do that. And also, if you happen to be in the UK next year in April, on the 24th of April, we are going to organize a conference on mechanism design for decentralized justice at King's College in London, with a very interesting department of machine learning, AI they have there, and game theory, to start making a research community on decentralized justice and peer prediction. So William is not alone. I mean, you must be very, very lonely, William, right? Researching all this. I mean, you built this.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some good collaborators. We have our current PhD students. Yan does some mechanism stuff, mechanism design stuff, and we've had good conversations with various academic collaborators over time. Some people have done some things that kind of touch on Kleros adjacent kind of mechanism design, but the more the merrier. So I look forward to other people running the ship.
Yeah, and also, I mean, most of the people who have done research on Kleros is from the legal perspective. We have not that many from legal into design, so but hopefully, this Oxford grant and the King's College conference will start to create this community. So yeah, okay. I think is there anything else worth mentioning, William, from this year about the research, or that's it?
I think it's a good summary.
Cool. Okay.
I would add
Yeah.
one thing about research is that William made a video about the research instructions that I think it was directed to people interested in this program, but it's also very useful for anyone studying Kleros or that is interested in this. And also, it makes it easier to understand some of the design decisions of the protocol. So it's something that we did not have before. So I'm very grateful for that.
We had it like in parts because it was like different conferences of William speaking at DevCon. Now we have a very long 3-hour video of William. This is this could go to the Oscars. It's definitely like a longer feature film. So it's amazing. I recommend that to anyone who is into like game theory and all of the mechanism design stuff. I mean, go to that video because that's like I cannot say the Bible because it's like a video, but it's like the Gone with the Wind of Kleros research. If you want to, because of it's going to become like a classic. So we have that. Okay, research covered. Then we went. Well, we have a bunch of marketing activities done. For example, in the HCC in July this year was done in Brussels, not in Paris because of the Olympics. And well, as you know, we work remotely, so we meet with the rest of the team, with all of the team, twice a year or at least once a year at HCC, and when there is DevCon, also at DevCon. So in July we had this HCC event. We had lots of talks. I gave a talk about blockchain and governance and proof of humanity and how to design good governance systems to prevent, dramas and stuff like that. I think what was your talk about, William, in HCC?
I talked about spellbound token weighting stuff.
Okay, you want to explain a bit?
Yeah. So again, this idea of using social information about people, their background, their experiences, how they've interacted with other blockchain applications in the past, whether they've gotten like a diploma through some off-chain entity, and weighting that together in various blockchain mechanisms with this sort of like big running theme being a comparison between how people propose using this for quadratic funding, where you give like extra weighting to like public goods funding for contributions that come from very diverse groups, and how we might use it in Kleros, conceivably, for like juror drawing weighting by these social information tokens, with the idea that not only should this make you have more diverse panels, which social science research has shown results in better decisions, but also to the degree that like the spellbound tokens are hard to get, it's hard to like corrupt too many of them. Maybe like one of them selection process is hacked because some insider at an institution that awards spellbound tokens is giving out fake spellbound tokens, but the others are robust. This should add attack resistance, so you should like be able to layer on new levels of attack resistance to your selection.
Cool, thank you. So we have that. We had another talk by Guangnian and Alex. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but we had like a bunch, I think maybe 4 or 5, I think. So yeah, we always have lots of talks at the HCC. And then, so we had that. We had meeting with the team, and we held our annual cooperative Kleros meeting in person. So this was the first time we do the cooperative meeting in person after COVID. We used to do them in person at the beginning, but then COVID came, so everything went online. And now that we can meet again, we started doing the assemblies, annual assemblies in person. So we had that was interesting. And then after that, maybe something from you, Jean, that you want to comment from HCC or community things.
From ETC, I think it was at the workshop by Guamian and Alex. It was pretty good because it mentioned a couple of different DAO designs, and for lots of these different DAO designs, there are Kleros tools that can help. And we also did I remember there was a side event that we participated that was pretty nice. I don't remember which one, but
Yeah,
let's
blockchain.
continue.
No, it was by Blockchain Gov. I went with William to that one. It was about
Yes.
they used Kleros and a bunch of other projects as examples of governance and different choices from the perspective of DAO governance, but also from the perspective of like legal entities. Because there's interactions between the protocol with its DAO governance, but also there is a company in some cases that does other functions. And then, well, what is the optimal way to do it? And of course, as you can imagine, the answer is it depends. Depends on what the project is about, and depends of the stage of the project. It depends on lots of different things. I guess that the main takeaway from that is that, yeah, different projects need different governance structures. We have also said that at some point in the future, well, the goal is to start decentralizing more and more as we make progress. Still, we need to have more traction for like thinking of decentralizing the governance, but at some point, this has always been the goal, and that's why we are very much interested in all things about constitutions for DAOs, how to do a governance system that is effective, where the token holders and other stakeholders are well represented, that where they can get what they want, and that doesn't result in like dramas. Uh, so yeah, so
I
this
think
is
one one thing that it will be nice to mention maybe is that we were an advisor for this book from Blockchain Gov uh, uh, about designing DAOs, and
yeah. Actually,
also I
that
think
that was
yeah.
launched in that event, Jin.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. And also, Jamila published her article on decentralized dispute resolution for blockchain systems. And well, there were a couple of different events, things related to blockchain gov during this year.
Yeah, Blockchain Gov in that event, William was also there, and so they launched this book. It's called the Cookbook for DAO Constitutions, and it's like a bunch of like how to build a constitution for your DAO, depending on a number of things like the values of your community, the depending on the stage we are, the degree of control you want people to have. So lots of different topics that are super interesting. So that book, I mean, it's online. You can check it. I mean, if you are into governance stuff, I mean, strongly recommend it. And because I mean, Blockchain Gov has been working at this for forever. I mean, Primavera de Filippi and Morshed having, yeah, they are the number one in the world on this. So and that book compiles all of the research they have done over the years for a very long time. So yeah, if you are into that, do take a look.
And
And
one more thing,
yeah,
Federico. Sorry
yeah,
to interrupt
yeah,
you.
no, go
But,
ahead.
I think I don't remember exactly when Alex joined the team, but this year we made lots of progress on following up with different DAOs and like work like following them more closely, understanding their needs. And now some people at DAOs know more about us than before.
I think it was this year, so it's a good thing to mention in this last call. Alex incorporation was this year, 2024.
It was this year, Alex? No,
Yes,
just
yes, yes.
okay.
Almost sure. Oh,
Okay,
oh,
I will have to
yeah,
check that, but I
or
didn't
maybe
know.
the end of last year. But yes, almost sure it was this year.
Okay. Yeah, Alex is in charge of all of the integrations of Kleros, requiring I would say short, short like politics if you want. It requires going to a DAO, pitching to like community and all that. So lots of yeah um, work to that type of integrations. So Alex is in charge of that. Um, I don't know what else we can mention about business development. Maybe Marcos, I already mentioned all of the enterprise things, so that's covered.
Yeah,
Then, yeah,
yeah.
go
As
ahead.
as I'm mostly focused in enterprise, I think most important things were already mentioned. Where we have been presenting, maybe I can say some updates of this week. Where last week I was presenting with Facundo about Kleros Enterprise for private companies and for government entities. It was very good. Again, it was in the regulatory day of Crecimiento. Before that, we had a lunch with some important people from related to Argentina and the regulatory stuff. So I think it was a good experience. Last week, I had another presentation talking about Kleros Enterprise, and this week we have been working in these pilot cases where yesterday we created one, and today and tomorrow we are going to creating two more pilot cases, and most probably next week another one about the city of Buenos Aires and Mendoza. So this last month we were mostly working with yeah, I would say government entities, but yeah, next year we will keep working with more private companies at MedLife and Lemon and the ones that Federico mentioned. I think that that's the most important thing for the for this last.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have lots of demand of enterprise. Now that we have a bunch of these applications like working, it's way easier to have other people implement the same because everyone will want it because now they see how it works. And it works very well. It results in a very high satisfaction of users or citizens because they have like a distributed solution system that gives them a result that is very fast. It takes like a few days. It's transparent because of blockchain and it's done by peers. So who wouldn't want that, So it's working very well now. We're trying to scale it to different industries and different regions. We'll have surely more updates next year, early next year. Then, I mean, I will have to bring someday Wangmian because all of the other part of the integrations more like what is Web3 focused. This is Wangmian who is managing that, and but the
I
problem with Wangmian is that he's in Singapore, so
Yeah, no,
it's very
but
late.
at least I can
Yeah,
mention the
yeah,
updates of this week from Wangmian and Alex. The first one is that the integration with some Martin Boys that I already mentioned in the last calls. But the thing is that we are going to do like a co-marketing plan for January of next year. Yeah, they are going to be using our court to resolve their disputes, and then we have Economy, that is a decentralized P2P marketplace that it's working to to explore using our escrow. Those at least were the most important things for that Wang Yan mentioned today in the team photo.
yeah. It has so that, and then also we're mentioning that well, one of the products that we have that is like maybe not the more like the people know, but curation. I mean, Kleros is being used currently by MetaMask, Ledger, and Etherscan and others for like curating lists of addresses. And there was a very nice tweet storm that was published, I think, a few weeks ago about this use case. It's not the sexiest one, but it's really solving a problem. And there's like hundreds of thousands of addresses curated by Kleros through the decentralized curation mechanism, which prevents lots of scams, happening from smart contract impersonation and stuff like that. So I mean, this is a super interesting, what I sometimes call, private compliance or private certification. And I think this is going to be something I will work a bit more next year to try to to implement this because it has lots of potential that was not yeah, it's still untapped, but I think this is going to be one of the big things for next year. So Wang Min has been managing all that. I will try to bring him at some point early next year to speak about this, because well, he's in Singapore and every time we do the community call it's like 2 a.m. for him. So we have that. Another thing worth mentioning is that well, we expanded the team a lot in 2024. We at the beginning of the year, I don't know, remember the exact number, but I think the size of the team maybe doubled over this year. Maybe, I mean, do you guys remember? But more or less doubled, I think. Be, one problem we had before is that we were short, handed, and that was like delaying development. We were late on V2 because we didn't have many developers, and we in end of last year we did a very big push to recruit more developers in the team, and now we have a very strong development team that you can clearly see this in how fast. I mean, check our GitHub. Check how many commits there are there and how fast the V2 app is evolving. The version that was launched at DevCon is already like old compared to the version that is now online, so in V2. So yeah, I mean, this is things are moving way faster, and we are starting to also improve and renew other of our products like Proof of Humanity, Curate. All of our products are getting their like 2.0 version. So Proof of Humanity, Curate, Escrow, everything is coming 2.0 with better, well, more user friendly, cheaper, yeah, and better basically. So all of this is going to be released. Well, Proof of Humanity is already released, but others are going to be released Q1 probably. So check that. And one of the main things that happen now is that, okay, we launched the Kleros 2.0, which is now what we call like a light version, in the sense that it's still handling like small value cases. It's for consumer disputes, but it's not the full version in the sense that it doesn't have the economic security that V1 has. So what's coming for next year is developing the cross-chain capabilities for this for the V2 Kleros, and doing all of the smart contract audits in order to at some point, I cannot say when because that depends also a lot on the smart contract audits, and you don't know how that ends. So if you find vulnerabilities, you need to fix them, of course, before releasing something that is not secure. But the goal is to reach an event that is going to be called the Kleros merge, where we just merge that V1 into the V2, and then we will have Kleros V2 with the Arbitrum rollup, cheaper because of the rollup, with all of the improved decision-making logics that we have researched over the years. And on top of that, the economic security of V1. So this is the I will call the Kleros Ultimate, we will call it. And this is going to be, well, I mean, this is the final version of Kleros for a long time, because we don't need to do like a Kleros 3.0. What is going to happen is that then we can start adding modules to add new functionalities, like some of them for improving the decision-making logics, others for improving. Just today we were discussing the commit and reveal mechanism and how we can have the commit and reveal, which is important for people not being able to see how other people vote, so they cannot copy the other vote. But you can do this with commit and reveal, but this is not very, I mean, it's a bit cumbersome because you need to vote and then come back to reveal your vote. So the user interface is not great. So this is going to be at some point added as a different module. So and different, capabilities are going to be added one after the other with different modules that we can, like add-ons into the new version. Well, I think I don't have much more. Jean, I'm sure you must have. Oh, tell us a bit your your talk with Vitalik in the audience at the Crecimiento.
In the end, well, I was scheduled to give a talk about Vitalik, just after Vitalik yesterday, but I did not know that until yesterday, and I was very anxious because I was expecting the room to be full. But in the end, they moved the place of my talk, so I fortunately had a more relaxing. More relaxed talk with people and with people that some people that already knew, so it was very nice still. But well, Vitalik gave his talk and just disappeared like he usually does, so he did not stay for my talk.
He missed it, what can I say?
Yes, he missed it. It's his problem, and and but what's interesting is that I was preparing it, and a couple of ideas that I was mentioning there, he mentioned on his talk, so it will kind of be a continuation. Well, one of the things that he on his talk he talked about in, in general, what he thinks it's most interesting about Argentina is that here crypto has a very tangible and understandable impact on the life of people. And I think Kleros is probably one of the use cases where that is more obvious, apart from, of course, DeFi and escaping from inflation. So that's also interesting that he's here and talking about these cases. And another thing that he's very interested, excited about is using prediction markets for getting information from the world and aggregating this information and making its surface. And it's also something that people at Kleros are excited about, and it's also you can of course needs Kleros to solve some of these disputes that might happen, and uh, also using prediction markets to decide which projects to fund. This is something that there are some experiments on some DAOs right now, and well, hopefully we can have more to talk about about this in next year. And my talk briefly mentioned that now prediction markets are more understandable than they were a couple of years ago. And as we discussed on previous calls, it looked like something super futuristic that will never get adopted. And right now it's starting to look like it's possible. Yeah. And where else? I think this week, well, as Marcos mentioned, last week we had a talk at the Regulation Day, and there were lots of lawyers and people from government agencies in the room, and they now learned about this use case if they hadn't heard about it before. Probably if they know about crypto, they heard about it before, but they had the opportunity to maybe ask some questions and solve some of the doubts about this system. And well, that's very positive. I'm very, I think everyone that was here at Crecimiento in this movement was very bullish for 2025, especially because there's also the opportunity of having Dev Connect in Buenos Aires, and we just created a prediction market about it, so you can be excited about Dev Connect in Buenos Aires and also participate on the market.
So the Regulation Day where DJs meet regulators. basically.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mentioned this in the chat, but they literally talked about how to classify meme coins and if it's a relevant asset. So it's I think it's kind of interesting that they know a lot about this. It's not like someone coming from the like a word where they don't understand. It's something they are keeping track of all of everything around crypto. So it's pretty nice.
I'm sure they have some positions in meme coins as well, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm joking, of course. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me also, I wrote an article like 9 years ago where I explained prediction markets. And this article was, uh, I put an edit after I wrote that on Medium, and it's there. You can see it. I mean, and update. There's going to be a launch of a new prediction market called Augur. I mean, 9 years ago, I was already writing about prediction markets, and I was at the meetup in Silicon Valley where Martin Koppelman explained the prediction markets and the strategy for the ICO they would do with the reverse Dutch auction. I was there and discussing this with him in 2016. So okay. Well, I guess that's it. It's already 52 minutes. So next week, as I said, there's not going to be like a call because it's Christmas. So you can rest a bit. Well, thank you guys for coming every week. Those that come every week and those that don't, we forgive you, and hopefully you can come every week next year. We are going to be every Wednesday at 6 p.m. UTC here at Twitter. I think this is, as it said, a very important year at Kleros because of a number of things that started to align. Launch of V2, the launch of a number of enterprise use cases that can fully use the capabilities that V2 has in terms of decision-making logics, in terms of cost. So I think that everything is aligned for having a very, very good 2025. So thank you all for coming, and well, see you next year, guys. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Bye bye. Happy New Year. See you
Bye bye.
2025.
Bye,
Bye
everybody.
everyone.
Happy New Year.